She turns to the camera and addresses the lens directly.
Night Stalker.
Night Stalker.
I can handle myself.
Maxine.
The third film in the X-Trilogy. This is bringing back Mia Goth. This is bringing back Ty West. This is the final film of the X-Trilogy. This is Maxine, now taking place around Maxine Minx in LA in the 1980s. And you know, Maxine is now a recovering porn star. For whatever reason, trying to go straight in amongst the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez era of Hollywood. What do you think of this franchise?
In this household, we love that Ty West franchise so far. So I've seen X, I don't know how many times. I've seen Pearl a few times. I feel that Pearl is a better quality acting performance movie, like because we get all focus on Mia Goth as Pearl. I mean, yeah, we get that in she's playing Maxine, but in X, but get to see a little more emotional range in Pearl. Now, X is a more fun movie. That's when you get your slasher movie, right? And you get a very paying homage to a lot of the Texas Chainsaw and all those creepy secluded house in the woods, a cabin in the wood type of movies, and I really enjoyed that as well. I also like the back lore of they're going out to film adult movies and whatnot. Spoiler alert, guys, if you guys are listening, she's kind of the only one that makes it out. This is flash forwarding 6 years later, I believe, from 1979 to 1985, and we see her, as we know that adult actresses have tried to become movie stars before, or break into the industry. Tracy Lords, it's not easy, and I think that even from the trailers we get to see that her struggle is there, but her determination for wanting to be that, she keeps quoting what she's been saying since X is, I want to be an effing star. I want to be an F. They're going to know my name. And I think just this character wanting to push through and make a name for herself has got me to love this character since we were introduced to her, and everything that's happening around her. You have a fantastic cast too, by the way. You got Kevin Bacon once again. You got Giancarlo Esposito in there. I believe is it Halsey? I forget the act.
Yeah, singer.
Yeah, singer in there as well. So you got some. They amped up the budget for sure. We're going back to LA, so we got talking about a lot of Hollywood movies actually set in Hollywood this episode, but I think it's a good backdrop, especially in '85 with the Richard with the Night Stalker stuff going on, because that's just another subplot that we can dive into. That I think, even if you didn't follow the first two movies, this might pull in another audience that's into crime movies or series and stuff. So they'll be like, oh, you know what? Which I think is very smart to do, because sometimes when you have a sequel or prequel or whatever, you got to watch all those movies before. And that's where I think they kind of did a smart move. Ty West did a smart move of writing that into the script for this kind of movie. And I'm very excited to see this one. I will be watching this for sure day one in theaters.
Yeah, I am someone who I didn't see. I did not see Pearl. I loved X, saw X in theaters. I didn't avoid Pearl. It just didn't. It kind of came and went for me. Like I just didn't. There's just something missing for me that I didn't go to see it. I planned to go watch it, and because coming out of X, I loved X. I was excited for Pearl, and then I just never got around to seeing it. So this one, the trailers got me right away for Maxine. Yeah. Definitely planning on watching this one. And yeah, you're right. The cast in this one, especially for being a horror film, which in horror films generally do not get big name stars, but as you're saying, filming in LA, you're able to get Bobby Cannavale to come in and do a small role.
That's
you're able
right,
to get Kevin
Cannavale.
Bacon to come in, Michelle Monaghan. When's the last time you saw Michelle Monaghan in a horror film? So, and then, yeah, of course, Giancarlo Esposito, Gustavo Fring, Breaking Bad.
That toupee they put on him is pretty wild.
Yeah, pretty much anything he does, whether it's Disney, Star Wars, anything he does, I love. I'm really excited and eager to see this one. And you bring that up as a really good point too, of when adult film actresses and actors try and go mainstream. That's been out there for a long time. There's a reticence, I think, of mainstream Hollywood, and I don't know whether that's just because it's middle America. That is sort of an interesting storyline that they chose to pick on for this film, of an actress who has skills, but in order to get money and to pay the bills, she goes into that adult line of work. And from there, she tries to go legit, tries to go mainstream. And that's what we see in that first trailer, is her doing an audition, the casting director looking down at her nose going, and you've been doing adult films, like that whole thing. I think that's the kind of thing that could be in the wrong director's hands, could be kind of like eye-rolly, like, okay, yeah, we get it. But I think in Ty West's hands, he's done such a great job handling at least the first film in the series. And I've only heard good things about Pearl, the second film, which I haven't seen. So I'm going to assume that he's handling it well and with a good sense of humor in this third one as well. To me, this is good across the board. There's nothing really bad about this trailer, this scenario, the look of the film. I love that they're going 4:3 and shooting on film for some of these shots in the trailer. All of this to me is good. There isn't a meh factor, which is, I try to come up with a good, a bad, and a meh for each film, because I think I don't want to just fanboy out here, but I am a huge fan of.
No, that's good.
Yeah, and I'm not really a huge horror movie fan myself, so I do really love that first film. I love the energy from it, the throwback 70s feel to it, and just the look and the feel that they're going for with the 80s. How about you? Is there anything bad or meh for you about the trailer for Maxine, or the setup?
So, I mean, the good is what I kind of named. I mean, yes, I am a fanboy, but I want to see these characters, what ends up happening. I do like that they are announcing that this is kind of the final film in the trilogy, because like you said, we don't want this to be an Axel Foley situation. We don't want this to be a Bad Boys situation where Maxine comes back miraculously, because this is the thing. I know you haven't seen Pearl. I will, but it is kind of good that you mentioned to me right now that you're not the biggest horror fan, because Pearl is nothing really of horror. It's more of a deep dive character study of the older woman that we saw in X, so, also played by Mia Goth. So, and we're also talking about World War I times. So you get to see life in a whole different lens, which is where I started to see Ty West progress a little bit. So the only thing I could say about this third film, as far as bad, sometimes when they throw so much money at you, your budget, with all of your actors attached, that can go sideways. Sometimes, less is better. And I think with the first two films that he had, less was better. I just don't want to see him, not be able to juggle everything that's thrown at him with this cast. And then, of course, the subject nature around it. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but I could see it happening from, because I've only seen, besides the two in the trilogy that we got, what was the film that he came out with? It was like called Hell. Oh God, it was like something in the house, Devil in the House or something like that.
Yeah, I looked it up before. It wasn't like a hugely successful. Yeah, I mean it was.
Yeah, it was an indie film, but I think that's where most people checked him out, and then the X was announced. But that's the only bad that I could possibly see happening from this, is that he has too much on his plate with all of this going on. And I think it's going to be a pretty good film. And I wish I knew the budget off head, because I remember the first two films being very low budget.
If I remember right, I thought that they filmed and shot all three films at pretty much the same time. I could be wrong with that, but I don't think this is one where they did the first, because they did the first two at the first two films at the same time, and I think they also did this one at the same time too. So I don't think that there would be a thing where they're like, well, we're going to spend a lot of money on the third one. I think this is probably one where if they did spend more money on it, it's just because they knew they're filming in LA, so they had to allocate more money. I think.
Mhm.
I don't know, but that would be my guess.
So it says X had a budget of $2 million and it made 25.
I would imagine that it's definitely more than $2 million for Maxine, though. Just
For all
from
of
the
that.
star power alone. Kevin
Yeah.
Bacon probably is $2 million.
Being a horror fan in the 21st century has been such a crazy thing because they're focused more on profits than anything, right? So they're taking a lot of lore that exists. So you got the reboot culture. Everything is being redone. We saw that at the turn of the century, man, with all of these House on Haunted Hill and 13 Ghosts and all these movies that existed before that are just being repackaged and sold to us. And they're not good movies necessarily, but they're to get butts in the seats for that weekend and turn a little bit of a profit. Now we've got this elevated horror era that came around like the Jordan Peele or like the Babadook and all this other stuff, where you have people really looking at horror or suspense thrillers in a different light, or psychological thrillers in a different light. Now we can make a smarter horror movie, and it doesn't have to necessarily contain a bunch of gore, blood, or nudity like it did back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Even we could start making movies that people are talking about and wanting to give Academy Awards to, because that's not even heard of. No, I know Emily Blunt was fighting for that when Quiet Place came out. Like, why aren't these movies getting nominated?
In Hollywood, look, it's show business. Franchises are proven when they make money, and they make money over time. So why not, I guess, to a certain extent, and especially considering that horror films are generally cheaper to produce. Why not come out with ones? It's just, give it to new filmmakers, give it to talented filmmakers, see what they can do with it, see if they can do something different, do something fresh. It's just when they do copy paste, copy paste. I think, everybody does copy paste here and there to a certain extent. Yeah. But it's just when it goes into the horror genre and they do copy paste, I think is where it kind of takes advantage of the fans a little bit.
Well, that's what I was gonna go with my last rant was that Blumhouse, regardless of what people think about the quality of movies, I think some are better than others. Obviously, they have been able to create full-length feature films, either based on existing prior lore or short films, expand on them, but been able to create them with such a small budget and turn a great profit. This is what's getting other studios to want to dive deeper into horror. But it's a double-edged sword where, as horror fans, we want to see more horror in theaters, but we want to see good horror movies in theaters. We don't want to just see, Night Swim or whatever it is, and these movies that should have just stayed on YouTube as a short film. And it's very lazy, like you said, the copy and paste. But I think we're getting more people that are starting to take a chance with either young directors or new script writers. And they're like, you know what? I see something there. We can produce this for cheap and it'll turn a major profit. That's what I would like to see, because there's always people that go, oh, Hollywood is just reboot this. And why isn't there any fresh stories? Well, there is fresh stories. It's just that studios are not taking a chance on these writers. They're really not. I can only imagine there's stacks, like you got the stack of movies behind you. There's a stack of scripts that are being untouched because studios will not take a chance on that,
Well, and to be fair too, I think some of the newer franchises that we've seen in the last couple of years that were really low budget actually turned out a lot better than I thought they would. Like for example, Megan. We already talked about Megan. Megan was fun. There was a life and an energy to it. It wasn't a perfect film, and it wasn't like the greatest thing that's ever been made, but it was fun, and it was a new concept. And I think with horror, one of the good things about the horror genre is that all you need is a very simple premise executed well. I mean, not even great, but just executed well. Like Smile. I mean, who hasn't seen someone who's a little socially awkward with a creepy smile? That's a little creepy sometimes. So why not make a horror film where there's, a spirit or a demon or whatever that causes a creepy smile?
I actually have not seen that movie yet.
Oh yeah? Oh, okay. Sorry for the spoilers.
I plan to see it though. No, you're good.
Well, I was just thinking because the trailers for Smile 2 just came out, so that's kind of what was fresh in my mind. But yeah, so Smile and Megan and some of these other newer franchises that are now getting sequels that were fun and well executed. And the third one that I was going to say is The Black Phone, which is I think more of a thriller than a horror film. But that one was really well done. I mean, how often how often do we look at Obi-Wan Kenobi and think, oh yeah, he's a horror villain? But in that film, he was the creepy guy with the windowless van in the 80s, and that was, for those of us that grew up in the 80s, that whole windowless.
Mean Ethan Hawke?
Oh yeah, sorry, Ethan Hawke. I was thinking, I was mixing up my guys with light brown hair in their 40s.
Why is that getting a sequel, by the way? Why is the Black Phone getting Black Phone 2? I don't.
Because it was
that
really
was
good.
Another. No, I understand that, but from a fan standpoint, it could have just ended there. I do understand that there could be more stories that could be told from that, but sometimes when you milk it that much, it loses its light. Like once again, it's a light. I'm not saying it's a lightning in a bottle to a sense that they can't create great sequels off of this, but I think sometimes one and dones are the best.
Yeah, and I think I think the tendency is to green when something is successful, the tendency is to green light until they prove that they can't green light it. Like the Meg. The one saving grace with the Meg is that it kind of goes into it winking and nodding at the audience, knowing that sort of like Snakes on a Plane, where they go in saying, okay, this is going to be a B movie, this is going to be a bad movie, but we're purposely making it a bad movie. So enjoy the badness, the goodness of the badness, to a certain extent, I think. So, yeah, that was a really far-ranging discussion surrounded around Maxine, but I think,
But I will be seeing it, though. I will be seeing it in July. Where did it come? July? Is that coming out July 3rd as well?
Yeah, July 5th. Okay. So that Friday. So let me know what you guys think. Does Maxine look good or bad, or just kind of Let me know in the comments section below this video. Also, are you guys planning to watch Maxine, the third and final film in Ty West's X-Trilogy in theaters? Let me know in the comments section below there as well. Also, be sure to click right over here somewhere. YouTube has another video of mine that they think that you'll like. Watch it. If not, no worries, but check out that other video. I've been Dragon Movie Guy. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.